All right, so this video is all about the worst parts about living here in Temecula, California. I'm gonna go over the 5 biggest negatives and what it's like to really live here. If any of these are deal breakers, Temecula is definitely not the right place for you. Let's go ahead and get into it. Hey guys, hey again, my name is Justin Short. I'm a realtor and team leader with the Short Real Estate team here at Keller Williams in Temecula, California and Murrieta, California. And this video is all about the worst parts of Temecula. So I'm gonna give you the 5 biggest negatives from someone that's lived here in the Valley for over 25 years now. Hopefully give you some good perspective on some of the worst parts about living here to make sure they're not deal breakers for you and your family. But before I get into my list here, if you are liking videos like this, do me a favor, please hit like, please hit subscribe. So obviously it helps me, it helps my channel. Obviously, we're trying to continue to grow it. And then we have new videos that we put out each and every week. So if you want to stay on top of those, please go ahead and hit subscribe. And then if you guys have any real estate questions, you could feel free to reach out anytime. I'd love to hear from you. I have people that call me just about every day. You can call, you can text, you can email me. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have about the area or point you in the right direction. Or, of course, if you or your family or anyone that might want some help with your home search here in the area, we would love to help you. We're local here, like I said, Temecula, Murrieta area, and so we would love to hear from you. So feel free to reach out, and hopefully we can talk soon. But I'm gonna get into my list here, and again, I've lived here for a long time, and I want to give some, I guess, disclaimer. I've lived here for 25 years. I love living here in the city of Temecula. I lived Temecula, Murrieta, Winchester. I went to high school out here. I've been here a very, very long time. I've seen the area change quite a bit. This is where I am raising my family. I have 2 young kids. I have a 6-year-old and a 9-year-old. They're going to public school here. We plan to live here for the next 20, 30 years. No plans to leave. I think it's a great place to live, right? But, however, with that being said, it is not a perfect area, right? There's going to be pros and cons to everything, so we're going to go over the cons today. That does not mean that I don't like living here. Sometimes I've gotten some comments in the past, and people have said stuff to me about, I do think it's a great area to live in, but these are deal breakers for you, and then you're going to think it sucks. So hopefully it's some good perspective. All right, so I'm going to get into my list here. We'll start with number 1 and just kind of count through it here. So without a doubt, the worst part about living here, the biggest con for people is it's a hot place to be. So right now it's the middle of the summer. There are heat waves that come over 100 degrees. The hottest months throughout the year, statistically they say are September and August. They say on average it's like 92, 93 degrees. Honestly, as someone that lives here, I think that seems super low. So it is sometime towards the end of July that we're recording this. It's been really hot the last month or so. Personally, I've been here a long time, so I am used to the heat, right? It doesn't really bother me too much. Honestly, for me, they call it a dry heat, right? I mean, it's still hot, but a 90 degree day here, living here in Temecula, I think is a really nice day. So it's sunny outside, you can go outside, it's real comfortable. You get a little breeze here and there. I think that's comfortable. I know from people that live in other parts of the state or the country, that sounds miserably hot, right? But once you've been here for a while, 90 becomes very comfortable. But you will definitely get heat waves over 100 degrees. I would say probably 16 to 20 days per year over 100. You'll get up to 102, 103, 104 is like pretty rare, and maybe 105 every couple years or something. So it's not like totally unbearable. There is not much humidity, but on days like that, especially if you're not used to the heat, like you're gonna stay inside. You got to be in the AC. It's super hot. Maybe go outside in the pool or something, but it's gonna be kind of miserable. So for those couple months a year, they say it's 2 months. Honestly, I would throw July in there. I think it's 3 months. It's gonna be pretty unpleasant. But with that being said, even though it does get so hot here at night, we do get a really nice breeze. So even if it's 98 in the middle of the day, you'll get a breeze. It'll really cool things down. It might be 75, 76, 77 degrees in the evening. So that makes it really nice. So about 6 o'clock, you can go outside. You can eat dinner outside, you can go to a restaurant, sit on the patio. It's super nice, super pleasant. So there's, there is a flip side to that. It's not like living out in the desert like Palm Springs or Las Vegas or something where it's just totally miserable and it's still 100 degrees in the middle of the night. So there is that. And then the other 9 months a year, the weather is super nice, right? So we don't really have much of a winter. It'll be 70, 80, mid 80s a lot of the year. You get a couple 90-degree days, but the summer's going to be hot, so you got to be able to plan for that, and just know you're going to run the AC. It's going to give you a little bit higher electric bill. So that's number one. Number two on my list is just the fact that it's expensive. This did not used to be the case. Temecula used to be a real inexpensive area, but over the last 10 to 12 years, the pricing has gotten so expensive here. It's a hard place for a first-time home buyer to move to because the cost of living is so high. So the average price point for a home in the city of Temecula is right about $850,000. Right? You'll see a range. You can probably find a starter home right around that $600,000 range. If it's a condo, it's going to be a little bit less than that, right? But the average pricing is right in that mid $800,000 range. So which means you will definitely find tract homes that are over $1 million. So definitely a good amount of $1 million tract homes here in Temecula. That was not the case, a handful of years ago. And of course, everything's just got a little more expensive. But with that being said, this is a high price point. It can be tough on affordability. A lot of times people do. This tends to be now more of like a move-up buyer market. So where people will maybe buy a home, your first home or condo in Murrieta, in Menifee, in Lake Elsinore, in Wildomar, in Winchester. So some of the surrounding cities, buy there, wait a couple years, be able to sell that, and then make that move up into the next larger home in the Temecula area. So people have different financial means there, but that's really common just because of how expensive the price points have gotten. So if that's the case for you, just know that is super common. It's not a bad thing, and if you want to actually live inside Temecula, it definitely might be something that happens down the line if it's not attainable today. Also, when we're talking about price point, although the average pricing here is definitely very expensive compared to what it used to be, when we compare it to other parts of Southern California, it ends up looking like a pretty good deal. So when you're looking at San Diego and Orange County and LA, where really $1 million doesn't really buy you much. It's going to buy you maybe a small town home or a condo or maybe a fixer-upper home in a crummy area, right? And maybe in a crummy school district. When that's kind of your other option to come up here to Temecula, when you can buy that home for $850,000, is going to be big. It's going to be nice. It's going to be newer. It's going to be in a great area that's continuing to grow. It's going to be in a great school district, right? There are definitely some real pluses about moving here, and as far as valuing, how far your dollar will stretch here compared to other parts of Southern California. But without a doubt, it's definitely going to be expensive. All right, so the third biggest negative and biggest con about living here in Temecula is definitely the lack of high-paying jobs. So Temecula tends to be more of a bedroom community. So where people live here and then they commute out for work. So they commute to San Diego, commute to LA, commute to Orange County. The reason they do that is because there's not a ton of big employers. So and that's not to say that there are not jobs. There are definitely many jobs. It's just not not a ton of high income jobs that tend to be kind of the main income for a household, right? So what that means. So I live here in Temecula. I'm fortunate enough, I work here in Temecula. I sell real estate, so it's kind of locally based, right? Most of my business is here, Temecula, Murrieta, Menifee area, etc. There are many other jobs that are here that are part of this bedroom community. So like I said, there's a lot of police department jobs, sheriff jobs, there's a lot of firefighter jobs, there's a ton of teachers, admin staff that works for the school district. There's a ton of medical jobs. There's numerous hospitals here in the area, tons of medical buildings, medical assistants, pharmacies, all types of stuff, right? So there are plenty of jobs. There are also a lot of service jobs. So there's a ton of restaurants, there's a ton of retail jobs, things like that, right? But when we're talking about like big, massive employers, like a big company, like say like Google or Apple or Qualcomm or Boeing or any of these big, massive jobs that you're going to find in a lot of these other cities, Temecula doesn't have that. So those are most of the people that are commuting out. So they live here in Temecula and they commute to San Diego, commute to LA, commute to Orange County. So that's definitely a con where there's just not a ton of those big, massive employers, right? In this post-COVID world, it is really nice that a lot more people work from home. So whether you're full-time remote or you work like a hybrid schedule where you only have to make that commute once or twice a week, if that's the case, then that's going to make your life a lot more enjoyable. It's going to take away one of the biggest pain points about living here in Temecula. So if that's the case, Temecula definitely might be a good fit for you. But if not, you just got to know there's not a ton of those big industrial jobs here. So that means you're probably going to be making the commute, which really takes me to point number 4 and the fourth biggest negative about living in Temecula, and it's the commute sucks. The freeway sucks. There's a ton of traffic, and it is getting worse each year for sure. It takes longer and longer to make that drive. So if you have to make that commute, just know, when you're looking at on a map, it's probably gonna take you a little bit longer than what you think, right? So most people that live here make a commute to San Diego, make a commute to LA, commute to Orange County. On average, I think the average commute time is right about an hour. I know many people that commute hour and 15 minutes, hour and 30 minutes each way, right? And they do that every day, 5 days a week, and each way, going to work and coming home, right? So if that's the case, it becomes a really tough way of life, right? People do it every day, and everyone's got to make sacrifices for their family, right? I'm sure I would do the same thing if that's what I felt was best for me and my family, right? But just know if you are not going to work here locally, you're going to make that commute, it's going to be a tough drive, right? They're continuing to build here and also in the surrounding areas. It's putting more and more cars on the freeway, and it's making that traffic get worse and worse. So that's definitely a con, is just how tough that commute is. And then number 5, the 5th biggest con about living here in Temecula is really, to me, I love living in California. I think it's a great place to live, but the California taxes, California politics and policies can really be tough to live in. And you're living in Southern California, you're going to have a lot of rules and regulations that you're not going to have in other parts of the country. So I think most people know that California tends to be a very blue and left-leaning state, right? So with that, there tends to be higher taxes and more social programs and just more regulation, right? So when you live in a state like that, it can be a little bit cumbersome, and it can be something that is tiring. So if you are currently living in California, that's not going to be an adjustment to you, right? But if you're living in Texas or living in Florida and you're moving out this way, you've got to know there's going to be a little bit of frustration there, right? There's a little more rules and regulations and red tape that you could be okay with. Taxes are a little bit higher, right? We have state income tax, 13%, state income tax. Is it worth it? Yes, absolutely. For me and my family, it is. I told you earlier, this is where we plan to live for a very long time. I think it's a great place to live, and you're going to pay that sunshine tax for sure, and you're going to deal with some other inconveniences that maybe other places wouldn't have. To me, I think it's tolerable and it's worth dealing with, but compared to what you're used to, it might be a deal breaker for you. So, and it is kind of interesting that even though the state of California is a very left-leaning state, in general, this area, South Riverside County, tends to be a little bit more red-leaning, so it's just kind of counterintuitive to what you would think compared to the rest of the state. But so that kind of can pose some friction between this area and the rest of California as well. So just some things to know. But those are, my opinion, those are the 5 biggest negatives about living here in Temecula. Again, for me and my family, they're not deal breakers. Some of them can be a little bit frustrating, right? Like the commute sucks if you have to go out of town. But other than that, I think it's worth it. I think it's a great place to live. Hopefully it's some good perspective for you guys. If you have any questions, you can feel free to reach out. You can call, you can text, you can email me, and hopefully I will talk to you soon. Thanks.